right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go over 5 reasons that great athletes don't always make great coaches. Number 1, natural talent. While natural talent is a boon for the individual performance of the athlete, natural talent can also have a negative effect on the required training for that athlete to become successful. What does that mean? Well, if you play basketball and you could jump really high, or if you know how to throw a specific shot very well, those are 2 things that you don't have to learn and you don't have to cultivate better. So when you have the ability to do it naturally, all of a sudden, there's a huge blind spot in the skills that the trainer is going to have to train to other people. So that's going to lead us to number 2, the skewed focus. So if the person that has natural talent is incapable of recognizing the blind spot that they have, particularly if they have some freak set of skills, then when it comes to training things, they're going to either not know how to train it because they never had to go through the process of problem solving themselves, or they're going to completely ignore it. So of course, for all of these things, there are definitely ways around it. But the person who wants to make the transition from athlete to trainer has to recognize what their individual path was that got them to success. Otherwise, they're going to have huge blind spots. Number 3, lack of formal training on instruction. So when you learn a new set of skills, there's a difference between learning the set of skills and learning how to teach the set of skills, because teaching is its own skill set. And what happens is people make the transition from athlete to coach all the time without receiving the necessary training on how to transmit those skills to another person. And when you have that, then you're gonna have an athlete with an incomplete skill set as a coach. And of course, being around good coaches and being led by good leaders and having mentors and teachers is going to be one of the things that helps. But they also need to be training you to coach other people. I had the benefit of my coach, Nathan Livermento. He helped me when I was no longer able to fight because of my injury. He took the time out of his life to dedicate to teaching me how to coach other people. And then going through my Army career, I got a lot of money spent on training me how to teach and how to coach and how to mentor people, because all those things are part of leadership. And leadership, I would argue, is probably the main trait that the person who goes from athlete to coach needs to learn, particularly if they've never had a position as a leader on one of their teams. Number 4, mental and physical abnormalities. So when you are a high-level athlete and you have some sort of natural proclivity, if it's physical or if it's mental, if you have that killer edge, if you didn't have to cultivate that in yourself, you're going to have to learn how to teach it to somebody else. And if you have, let's say you're playing whatever sport, or if you're a boxer and you're 7 feet tall, that's a thing that you cannot teach to other people. And that is going to influence the way that you fight. And if you don't take that into consideration when you're training others how to fight, then you're going to run into this problem of trying to create a tall type fighter out of a person that does not have the same physical attributes. And we see this pretty frequently, and it's more, probably a better example is when you see a coach who has experience themselves, but they never got that formalized training, because what they'll do is they'll train fighters a very limited skill set. And if that skill set gets the fighter by, then that's the one thing that fighter's going to be able to do. I would make the argument that happened with Deontay Wilder. Why were none of the other skill sets cultivated with him besides his ability to throw a straight right? Granted, that straight right would immediately wreck the day of everybody who stood up in front of it except for Tyson Fury. But what a limited scope of vision, or what a limited range of skills to give a fighter. And I don't even know who his trainer was. Probably been training as long as I have, if not longer. But that really makes me question that coach's methodology if he's just going to give a fighter one skill. Now, the other side of that coin is the fighter could have been resistant to cultivating other skills. So obviously there's more than one side to a story, but when you look over the course of Wilder's career, you don't see him start to embrace any other way to solve the problem. And even if you have one tool that you can use to get the job done, you should always have other tools that you can fall back on. And if you don't have contingencies for what your skills are, then you are a poorly developed and you are an underdeveloped fighter. And you need to take that going forward if you yourself are a fighter watching this. If you're a coach, you need to ensure that you're cultivating more than one skill in your fighter. Everybody, whether you're a coach or you're a trainer, should have a solid foundation with multiple approaches. And also you should have like an entire other toolkit of contingencies for when those fundamental skill sets that you possess or you're training do not get the job done. And if you fail to have a contingency plan, then you are failing yourself as a fighter, or you're failing your fighter if you're a coach. Number 5. Self-reflective training approaches versus pedagogy or andragogy. So if your ladder to success was rooted in some kind of natural talent, then what's going to happen is you're going to try to replicate that in your fighters, and your fighters are not necessarily going to possess the same skills. We do see some fighting camps out there where the main proponents or the main purveyors of those camps look for fighters that meet the same qualities, and they've met with a lot of success. I think we all know who I'm talking about. But if you're going to be coaching to the general public, what you're going to have to do is figure out the way of creating the widest net of skills that you can give out. And again, not that my method's perfect, but that's why I choose a pedagogy or andragogical model where I focus on providing efficiency, precision, and consistency. If you could cultivate those things, and if you could get the fighter to rely on the musculoskeletal system in efficient ways, now you're not trying to get them to burn energy in unnecessary ways. And we see that a lot of movement among fighters is not developed to the point that's going to help cultivate efficiency. And a fighter that has efficient tendencies is always going to last longer with the skill sets and the attributes that they have that they use for the fight. I have an entire other video on that. So those are my 5 reasons why great athletes don't always make coaches. Thanks for watching.